Hi everybody and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to get your FPV footage off your RunCam 5, edit it quickly with DaVinci Resolve, and what settings you should use along the way. RunCam 5 is an awesome little camera. I've had this one 6 months or so now. It's taken some pretty solid hits. It rides right up the front. Here's my other one on my Armattan Chameleon, rides up the front in that case, laser printed case, and does a great job at collecting footage. The only trouble is the little button here to start and stop it is covered by the strap, but I can give it a good push anyway and it seems to work. So I love my RunCam 5s, and I just want to show you the settings that I use. I got these settings off Joshua Bardwell. Here's the opening screen of your app. Click on QR code and have a look at this screenshot. Date stamp off, saturation 2, exposure compensation 0.3, contrast 2, sharpness 1, average, white balance for sunny. Rarely do I change that because it can be fixed up in color grading anyway. The trick is not to have that on auto. That wrecks everything. Low light, 5 minutes, 50 hertz. Then this is the important part, your video settings, video quality high, loop off, auto record off. Use this setting, 1440p at 60 frames a second, and add distortion correction. This is your way to get kind of a SupeView looking output of your RunCam 5, where the center is about right, but the spread or the balloon effect around the edges is really good. And so I set my RunCam 5 in those settings, and I've been out a few weeks ago and got some footage. Let's have a go at quickly editing that together now. So here we go. Here's a whole heap of clips. I'm not going to do all of them, but let's say grab 4 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you drag them down into your media pool. The clips have a different frame rate than the current project settings. Change. Now, there's the clips in the media pool. This is where, before I drag anything onto the timeline, I make sure that my timeline resolution is 1920 by 1080 HD, pixel aspect ratio square, timeline frame rate 60, playback frame rate 60. I find with FPV things are moving so quickly that if you try to drop it back, the frame rate or the timeline frame rate is any different, then it gets noticeably jerky and the output is not nearly as clean or smooth. So I always make sure those settings for the RunCam 5 are there. Cancel, because they're already set. Now, along the bottom, media, edit, color, fairlight, deliver. This is the sequence in which I work. DaVinci 16 has another one in here. I forget what it even was. I couldn't work out what it did, so I removed that one from my workflow. So media is in. Next one is edit. Now, on this edit screen, we can see our media up in the top left. Let's have a look. The first one, drop it in. Notice how the screen has that 4:3 aspect ratio. This is the effect that I was talking about. If you were to do 1080p setting on the RunCam, you would miss out on everything above where my cursor is there, and everything below there. You'd miss out on that extra scanning. So this setting uses the full scanner. There's a great video by Joshua Bardwell on this, and he talks about how this is the best setting to use. Now let's start editing. So I want to move it right across here, and we'll start right at the takeoff. Now, the thing that I use all the time to edit is the razor tool, but I don't drag that down and try and use it. I just use the razor tool's shortcut, which is Control B. So Control B slices right where the cursor is. Control B, slice. I want to get rid of that. Delete. Now let's drag along. You can see where the flying footage is by the sound wave here. Obviously no flying here, but there's stuff here. So let's see if any of this is interesting. Yeah, well, through the tree, that's okay. It ends in a crash. So every good FPV person knows you edit out the crashes. And there's nothing left in there that I want, so delete that. Now I'm on to my second clip. Go up here, drag it down, put it at the end. Now let's move along and see. Takes off there. Yeah, so it's capturing that little RC buggy. So let's Control B to slice it. Delete the bit we don't want. Press spacebar to start it playing again. Fun little turn. Well, that's just up and down the track a few too many times. So I'm going to get it to about here. Control B. And anything that follows now I don't want. So this is all being deleted. All this part here is being deleted until I slice it again. Go back a bit because I kind of like that turn. That was pretty good for me. So we'll delete that middle bit out, and then let's keep going out over the river. Circle around the top of that tree. So we'll probably just delete there. What else is coming up? Too high, too open. And now we're ready for another run up the track by the looks of it. So I'll delete. I'm just slicing and deleting the bits that I don't want. So let's. Yeah, so I caught a bit of the RC buggy there. I'm just dragging the slider along with my mouse just to try and find the interesting bits. So we'll just slice it there. I'm not sure there's too much more interesting in the rest of this clip. Yeah, so I'm just going to delete the rest of that clip. Then we go on to our next one. Put it on the end. Oh, this doesn't look like a very long flight at all. Yeah, so there's nothing of value in that one. So we'll go to our last clip and let's have a look and see if there's anything of value in this one. Started about there, Control B, delete that. Yeah, through some trees, out over the river. And it ends nicely in a crash. So just to show that again. tried to save it. So often I like to end it with a crash. A lot of my videos end with a crash. Control B, and we'll just delete the end of that stuff. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight all of it, and that's Control A, highlighted my entire timeline, and I'm going to change this 4:3 aspect ratio now to 16:9 to give that nice effect. I right click, I find clip attributes, I look for the pixel aspect ratio and I change it from square to DVC Pro HD. Click OK, and then that does that to all of the clips. They're all in that nice wide screen effect now. while I've got them all highlighted, the next thing I do is I add a cross dissolve to every change of clip, and they're all highlighted. So I right click cross dissolve from the video transitions area, add to selected edit points and clips, and it's just added them all. It's added to the beginning and to the end and to every transition in between. We're ready to color grade. So we change to our next color grade. We have the color grade screen. Let's find a clip in this first one that's a pretty standard. So that there would be pretty standard. It's got a bit of sun in it, so we just have to remember that. Maybe we'll just get one without so much sun. So that's pretty good. That's a pretty standard one. A little bit of lens flare there. Now, for color grading, we use these nodes, and the changes that you make are saved in a node. Now, it took me a while to get my head around this, but I think it's a pretty good system. So in this first node, I'm going to change contrast and color. So I'm labeling the node. So I right click, node label, contrast and color. Now, anything I change now will be saved in that highlighted node. So the next thing I do is I come down here to the corner and I get my waveform graph and I bring it out of its little pocket there. And what we're going to do is we're going to try and bring the top levels of these waves up to the top and the bottom levels down to the bottom, and then we're going to drag the middle down just a little bit as well. So let's start with the bottom. We're over here on our lift. I put my mouse on that thumb wheel thing and I turn my mouse wheel, and that brings the lift down to the bottom. You can see in the picture that blacks are getting blacker, the dark spots are getting darker. So that's okay for that. And the gain is the top bits. So put my pointer on the thumb wheel and turn my mouse wheel, and now it's lifting the gain up. It's always just a bit of a game to see where that is, where that will go. I think the sunspot here is adding a lot to this high end there, so we maybe push that out the top a little bit. And then that's brought the, oops, I was doing the wrong one then. I did offset instead of gain. So gain, there we go. And then gamma is like the middle range. So I think of this as bass, mid-range, and treble. So I'm going to bring my mid-range down now, and that drops everything. And already we can see that this picture here, the color in there is way better than that, which is where we started. So look at that, how that's popping. It's much more dynamic. It's interesting. You can see even the color on the trees stands out and looks good. By the way, that shows you that, just that little movement there, shows you the SupeView-like quality of this way of using the RunCam. So that's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to get rid of this one now. The other thing that I could do is add a little bit of saturation down here. That looks pretty good to me. I don't want to add too much. For example, if I change that to 60, that looks too much, and it's pretty easy to make it all look a bit fake if you do too much. Let's split the difference, try 55. That's probably a bit better, if not a bit too much maybe. I'm just going to go down to 54, and that will probably suit me. Sometimes less is more with these things. Last thing I want to do in color grading is do a sharpen, and I'm going to put that in a separate node. So we add node, add serial, and node label is sharpen. When I was first learning this, I found that just to click that one, it's already on it for me, sharpen. You might have blur or miss, change it to sharpen. And then over here at radius, just changing that to 0.47 makes all the difference. I don't know how easy it is to see on that video. It just adds a tiny bit more detail. 0.44 is too much, 0.47 just about right. So I think my color grading is done. But last thing to do, we notice we've only done it for one. These still have their black and white numbers. This has its colored number. We want to do the color grading for all. So the way we do this is make sure that the one we've done is highlighted. Right click on the color graded picture, grab still. Then the color grading comes up over there. Now I'm going to highlight all the ones that I want to transfer that grade to, and I right click on my still, apply grade. Now that grade has been applied to all of these ones as well, and you can see that there's some pretty nicely colored pictures in there, videos. So my color grading is done. Next thing I want to do is I want to mix in some music with my video. I like to have a balance of motor noise and music, so I'll show you how to get that balance just right. First thing we want to do is go back to the media. We're going to select a song, actually edit, because I want to see how long my video is. My video is 2 minutes and 5 seconds. So I'm going to now go and see if I can find some music. Choosing music for lots of people is the hardest thing. I've collected a whole heap of music that might be useful. This here are songs off the Rotor Riot Spotify playlist. Now 2 minutes and 5, so I'm going to sort this in length. Look at these, 2 minutes, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now the question is, which one of these is going to be a good song? Sometimes a bit longer is good because they fade in and fade out. Let's try the gun. See what that sounds like. Not enough energy. Let's try the one before. Just about to fall asleep. Try, this is a different artist, this might be better. Still a bit slower than what I would normally have. Let's try this one, Karate. Okay, this is better. This is better, isn't it? So now we drag this down to DaVinci and we can pop it up here in the media pool with all the clips. Now I'm going to drag that down, put it straight under my timeline, and we can see that it just goes a tiny bit longer. That's probably not a problem. Our next job is to turn the motor noises down but not off, so that there's a good mix there. For that we go to the Fairlight tab and we look at these mixer controls here and the balance levels up here. So let's play. So I'm turning the slider down here. This slider here is the motor noise. This one's the music. This one's overall. In my videos, I like just a hint of motor noise when you're throttling up, giving it some power, but I don't like it to be evident all of the time. So it's very subtle amount of motor noise there. So I think I'm happy with that. Now we go over to deliver. Deliver is where you set your video settings. I'm going to show you what I use to upload to YouTube and also keep a decent copy of the video in my own storage. It's tempting to use this YouTube preset here, but I would advise you not to, but instead create your own preset. So custom, give it a file name, test vid. The format I changed to MP4. Codec is that's fine. Resolution 1920 by 1080, frame rate 60. Get the frame rate right so you don't have any stuttering. Change your quality from automatic best and change that to 30 megabits or 30,000 kilobits per second. That'll give you a pretty big file on your computer and a pretty big upload, but it'll look nice once it's on YouTube. YouTube always wrecks our videos, we know that, but this wrecks it the least. So that's how I do my settings. And then I go to these three little dots here and I saved that as a preset. You can save yours there. And if we look over here, there's my RunCam preset. So I click that and all of those are already there for me. So put in my name again, test vid. I browse to where I want it, completed videos, that's where I save all my completed videos. And then it's just a matter of add to the render queue and away it goes, and it'll take a while once you press start render to deliver your really nice video. So that's how I use my RunCam 5 to take good, almost SupeView-like videos. If you appreciated this tutorial, make sure you press like and subscribe. And hey, I might see you again in our next video.